you've never become political, and I'm allowed to say I thought it was fantastic yesterday. You're going to go, oh my God, it's appalling. At a time when the United Kingdom is really under the cosh for many things that we don't need to go and that we've been speaking about all afternoon, across the sea, the pond, we have an incoming Republican president who unashamedly says, and I quote, I'm going to do everything to make America great again, make the people of America safe again, do whatever I have to do to make sure that we don't pay for everybody else. Yesterday, in this sort of rambling 72-minute press conference, which should have been about 5 minutes, he firstly refused to rule out military force to take the Panama Canal and Greenland. He said he'd quite like Canada to be the 51st state. He wanted the Gulf of Mexico to be named the Gulf of America. He then attacked NATO and said everybody should put in 5%, otherwise I might well do one. But perhaps my favourite moment was when he said, I hate wind farms, they're killing the whales. On a serious military point of view, I suspect that you'll disagree with this, but the American people will be quite happy to hear about somebody who's doing what it takes to talk them up, whereas we're, in this country, seemingly being talked down the whole time. What's your response to what Donald Trump talked about militarily?
I think it's so fascinating, isn't it? I mean, I think if you're for the American domestic market, I suspect Trump's narrative is a breath of fresh air. But it's undoubtedly rattling the cages elsewhere. I mean, clearly, a lot of this is designed as a precursor to the 20th of January inauguration. He's, you know, this is coming, change is coming. He's clearly going to be a disruptive force. He clearly got frustrated in Trump 1.0 when he was first in power. He's not going to make those same mistakes again. And it's clear that he's got an agenda and he's going to drive through with it. Quite exactly what he does. I think there are some interesting angles. The Panama Canal always interests me because it was a really difficult project, finished with US money in 1914, jointly handled, only handed over the Panamanian authorities at the end of the 1900s. But there's now about 14,500 vessels go through that each year. Do you know what the average toll is for each of those vessels?
Not a clue, boss man.
$54,000 for every single one of those ships, and that's an average.
$54,000 is a toll, and I think £3 on the Cardiff Bridge. How many boats are going through a day?
Well, I think it's about 14,500 a year now. So you can do the maths. But the point is, Trump believes that China has had some influence there, that American ships, and they are being exploited. I think the Greenland one is fascinating because that's a completely different tack. The Americans have a military base on Greenland. It's part of US Space Command, and it's part of that early warning ballistic missile threat system, because if Russia was to fire missiles, and of course, given what Russia has done in Ukraine, and of course what Iran has done against Israel, it's just heightened that threat. And that's another reason why he's turned around and said Greenland's important for national security. And of course, Canada becoming the 51st state, it even required, you know, Trudeau to turn around and go, hang on a minute. But I do think all of this, the danger is it's window dressing. What's clear is Trump and, to some extent, Elon Musk are announcing their arrival, and the world waits in anticipation to see what's actually going to happen.
Absolutely. Two other stories I'd love your take on, Sean. The SAS has been accused today, late last night, of war crimes in Afghanistan by a rival unit chief. Your response to that, Sean?
This isn't the first time, Jeremy, we've been talking about this, and it's an incredibly difficult one. I spent 3 tours, 2 years of my life in Afghanistan. It was incredibly dangerous. I think we lost 454 British soldiers in that time, loads more that got badly damaged. The Taliban were ruthless at the time. The Special Forces were, and it did an invaluable job protecting British troops on so many occasions. I worked very close with them. Now, nobody's above the law. Let's be absolutely clear about that. But inevitably, SAS operations are covert. They're incredibly dangerous, intelligence-led, and it will be very difficult to prosecute anybody after the event. All I can say is my own experience. I'm just very glad these elite Special Forces are on our side. That's really my bottom line.
I think the SAS is the best in the world, and you are absolutely right when you say that there will be always criticism. But hope to God this country, which seems to be getting woker by the minute and weirder in many ways, does not turn on an organisation that seriously has done so much good under the radar across the world that people don't even know about. Final story today. Love your take on this. Defence companies have stopped attending university careers fairs and events because of security fears over protesters affecting recruitment at the time of heightened global threats. Firms making weapons for the MOD and for export have been effectively excluded from attending events on campus at some universities or forced to cancel themselves, raising concern the national security could be put at risk because of a result of a lack of skills shortage in vital industries, because apparently students associate and the military companies with violence, and that's what, honest to God, what's happening, Sean Bell?
Yeah, but this isn't a news story, is it? I mean, let's face it, I don't know, when I was at university a million years ago, you know, you were an idealist when you're a youngster, and I think a lot of the idealists, if you remember, CND was rampaging around.
I don't think they have their own minds anymore. I think they're all bloody sheep.
No, I don't buy into that. But I do think, therefore, that a lot of defence firms, particularly with wars raging around the world, particularly with Ukraine, particularly with Israel, which has been incredibly emotive, it doesn't surprise me in this period of time. Defence is a very big employer in this country. I do understand why they're nervous at the moment, but quite frankly, there will be a lot of jobs available in this country for the youngsters and throughout our working population. I think this is a mere blip because of the current situation around the world.
There's always one thing when we have you on. You're so smart as carrots, and you always speak so brilliantly. I have a question for you, though. I passed 60 this year, and what should I expect?
Oh, ouch. It's not the years, it's the mileage, Jez.